2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Walk the ball. Let's Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads live post-game show presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Scott Geirman. Scott, what a thrilling game for the Dodgers. This game was 2-2, heading into it through 4 innings. The Diamondbacks score in the 7th. The Dodgers score in the 7th. The Diamondbacks score in the 8th. The Diamondbacks score in the 9th. The Dodgers score twice with 2 outs to walk this one off. They beat the Diamondbacks 6-5. Incredible stuff. Lots to get to, but give me your immediate reaction to what we just saw.
Just an unbelievable comeback. Bullpen wasn't sharp tonight, and just immediate thing from the end there. We were texting on the side. Ohtani comes up, big swing and miss there. Will Smith comes up, punishes one. Blake mentioned it. It's a little humid at the ballpark. Otherwise, I was thinking that ball was sailing. Joe Davis sold it to me like that was, 10 rows deep. And Freddie Freeman works in that bat and just puts it in the gap. Tie game. Like, this is what we want. This is what we want to see from this team. When the crowd met the moment, the players met the moment. I know a lot of people are hitting me up about the gritty stuff, but it's like, this is what we want to see out of the top part of the lineup. This is everything met the moment tonight. I'm impressed. I'm moved.
Yeah, you look at the top of the order, 3 for 5 for Ohtani, 2 for 5 for Smith, 2 for 5 for Freeman, 3 for 5 for Teoscar Hernández, 10 for 20. Those top 4 guys, obviously Ohtani with the home run, all 6 RBIs coming from those 4 spots, 5 of the 6 runs coming from those 4 spots. Just an incredible performance top to bottom from that group. And look, the rest of the lineup goes 2 for 17, I believe, but the top of the order has 4 doubles and a home run, gets the job done. That's exactly what you texted me. The Stars getting their job, doing their job, getting it done. We're going to talk Bobby Miller, kind of a mixed performance, I think is the best way to say about Bobby Miller. We're going to talk about the bullpen. Look, the Dodgers threw their 4 best relievers, 4 guys who you have immense trust in. Even after tonight, 1.8, 1.4, 2.9, 2.1, the 4 ERAs, and yet 3 of those guys give up runs, one of them unearned, although that's the crappiest unearned run ever by Blake Treinen when it's his error. But again, the headline here is the Dodgers win this one 6-5. The recap here, they take a 2-0 lead in the first 3 innings. They give both runs back on Dodger killer Christian Walker's home run in the 4th. They give up the tie in the top of the 7th. Ohtani comes back, gives them the lead, but then they give up a run in the 8th, a run in the 9th, before with 2 outs, after Gavin Lux strikes out, Shohei Ohtani strikes out, Will Smith double, Freddie Freeman double, Teoscar Hernández single. And it was almost like before you knew what hit you, Scott. Those 3 hits came in such fast succession that, I mean, in real time, it felt like 30 seconds between Smith, Freeman, Teoscar. All of a sudden, the game's over. You're like, holy crap, that just happened.
Yeah, no, it was quick. It was I thought Sewald, he's got a terrific rising fastball there. That backdoor pitch to Gavin Lux was terrific. I was like, okay, he's willing to make a pitch in that spot. It just looked like, I spoke earlier in a show prior to the game, and this was really a spot where I was like, okay, Gavin Lux is working in at bat, and then Ohtani comes up and just gets beat, fastball up, and then it's like you said, before you knew it, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And Teoscar came up, put one into left field, and it was an awesome send. I was very happy with that, and just offline throw, ball game.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, great stuff for the Dodgers. Again, this is a game that the mentions started getting a little negative on social media. Scott, some negativity around the Dodgers bullpen about this team not being good enough, the struggles they've had. Only 6-4 in their last 10, while the Padres, who got shut out today, were 8-2 in their last 10. But again, just takes 3 guys with 2 outs. Will Smith, liner, I'm with you, thought it was out. Joe Davis thought it was out. It just never got high enough, basically. And then you've got Freddie Freeman doing his thing, slapping it to the gap. And I loved Eric Karros. I agree. Do you agree? Eric Karros said, basically, in that situation, there's nobody I want up more than Freddie Freeman. I don't know if he's number 1 on that list, but he's definitely in tier number 1 as far as guys you want up with 2 outs and a runner on second, right?
With that plate approach that he has, absolutely. He'll go up there and just slap him away until he gets a pitch that he likes. And that's sometimes when you'll see him, he'll get beat on one, but that's definitely late in the count, like after working one. But it's exactly what it is. He's rarely misses one right in nitro zone. He's not always going to put one in the seats, but you see what it is. They put the graphic up, doubles man. That's who he is. So it's like right when it was off the bat, you were like, double, that's skipping to the wall. So it's just no, not a doubt. So I love EK. I love what he brings to the broadcast, and he was spot on there.
Yeah, there's moments where he's not my favorite, but there are also moments where he just says the thing that I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And, Freddie Freeman, I know there were people that were getting on his case early in the season, father times undefeated, that kind of thing. You look up, he's hitting 297, an on-base percentage just a tick under 400, and a slugging percentage that is over 500. His slugging percentage, to put this in context, is higher than Teoscar Hernández. Okay, so everybody, like Teoscar Hernández, fourth in the National League in home runs. Freddie Freeman, because of the extra base hits, a slugging percentage of 500. Laura with the super chat. Vote for Teo, Dodger fans. I believe they said on the broadcast he's in fourth place. The top three get to be starters in the All-Star game. I mean, we're going to talk Teoscar Hernández a little bit later.
We are.
3 hits, 3 RBIs. Obviously, the game-winning one. I mean, and when you see 3 hits and 3 RBIs, like every single one of his hits was an RBI hit of some. Well, I shouldn't say that. He grounded out for an RBI, but just consistent production multiple times. It wasn't just one moment that he came up. A huge night for Teoscar Hernández. So, Laura, couldn't agree with you more. The 2-out RBI triple in the bottom of the first, the 2-out walk-off single in the bottom of the ninth. I mean, all doing his damage with 2 outs. So kudos to Teoscar Hernández. Great stuff. And Laura, as always, we appreciate the super chat. 300 GJW gets us into a conversation that we were wanting to have anyways. We appreciate the super chat. Lots of super chats from you, 300 GJW. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Said Bobby has one imploding inning a game. In this one, it was the top of the fourth. Single, homer, single, walk. After giving up a 2-run home run, he loads the bases with nobody out. The good news, Scott, is that he gets out of it. Strikeout, pop out, ground out for him. He finishes the game 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 90 pitches, 55 of them strikes. Yep. What did you make of Bobby Miller's performance? I feel like you could make just about any case you want to about Bobby Miller tonight. What did you see from him? Was the box score 5 innings, 2 earned? Was that representative of what you saw from Bobby Miller tonight?
I mean, I would say it's just like, Bobby 300, thanks for the super chat, man. But I would lean towards it's that one inning. We talked a little bit. I was listening to the radio broadcast for the first, and they were talking about how, you don't always have to light up the radar gun. It's sometimes, good just living in the 95, 96 range and just having a little bit of command. But then you get into the 4th inning, and then he kind of manufactures some of his own issues. He gives it the 2-run pump to Christian Walker, and then, just his own stuff. But then he comes back, and just that inning, that fourth inning, we spoke about it prior to hopping on here, that he had no command. It looked like he just didn't have a feel for a lot of his stuff. And I just keep leaning back to Bobby even said it himself, that this feels like a spring training buildup. And we have to put a lot of that in perspective when we think about what's really going on. And in a time when you ask someone to be perfect, the Dodgers aren't asking a lot of these guys to be perfect. It's that they have the luxury of a big game, of a big lead in the division, that Bobby Miller they'd rather him fix these things or get this buildup at the major league level. So when he has one of these innings like this, and he's able to come back, and I was very, very happy. I don't know about you, but I think you'll co-sign it, that he comes out for the top of the 5th, and he goes right 1, 2, 3 right after that. And that's not even talking about getting out of bases loaded, nobody out. Yeah. So it's like he had some, they had confidence in him. He had confidence in himself, and coming out for that 5th really wrapped that up for me. Going right through Marte, Jock, and then Christian Walker again, getting him on a foul tip to end the inning. I just thought that I'm going to tip my cap to Bobby, and then we're going to go from there, because it's going to take some time for him to really find a command of his off speed or his secondary stuff there. But it was really, really good for me to see him pump the top of the zone there and find some confidence and find some success.
Yeah. Diamondbacks prior to that 4th inning were 0 for 9 with 2 walks against Bobby Miller. Then, like I said, single homer, single walk. So all of a sudden they get 4 consecutive hits and then a walk there. And then after that, he gets 6 consecutive. So he basically had a 5-batter stretch where all 5 guys reach. And other than that, he allowed no hits. But I agree with what you said, Scott. He had no idea where the ball was going tonight. And there were so many pitches that were either uncompetitive, i.e. just easy take straight as soon as it leaves his hand, or this was one of those games where, like, I try and be fair, because there are times when I want to get on here as the optimistic guy and say, hey, I know the performance wasn't there, but I saw some things I was encouraged by. And I think if I'm going to do that, then I need to be honest that even when the results do play out and it's only 2 earned runs in 5 innings, then I need to come up and say, I felt like he got pretty fortunate tonight, Scott. I thought there were a lot of pitches that were middle and just were swung and missed, foul tipped. And I mean, I know he's got electric stuff. He had a fastball to Jock Peterson, 2 strikes in the first inning. That was great. And swing and a miss. But I just felt like there were a lot of mistakes that didn't get punished. And this is the type of performance that if he were to do this again, I think that 2 earned run number might end up closer to 4 or 5 just because of all of it. I mean, even the command, like I want to get into the walks that he's had. He had, what did I say, 3 walks or 4 walks tonight, I believe was the number. 3 walks was the stat tonight. That's 3 consecutive starts, Scott, that he's had 3 walks. So he's got 9 walks in his last 3. In his last 9 outings of 2023, he didn't have a single start with 3 walks. He had 1 start with 3 walks in his final 16 starts of 2023. He's now gone 3 straight. So it just speaks to command. I threw up the graphic last time I was on here about how he was only in the zone like 35% of the time. Last I checked, it was like 50%. But again, it goes beyond just in zone, out of zone, because when he was in the zone, it felt middle. Am I crazy on what I was seeing, Scott? Or did you see a little bit of that as well?
No, but that's kind of, you got to remember, like he's coming off shoulder inflammation and all the way, and all the stuff is, we can attribute it to, I think, can we say he's fully healthy? Can we say he's trying to find himself? And we just have to put it in perspective and halt it where it's at, leave it at the door, that he's on. I'm going to take him for his word that if a major league pitcher says it feels like a spring training buildup, I'm going to leave it at that and roll with it. But you're spot on. Eye test proved it. He looked like he was living right in the heart of the zone when he needed to make a pitch. But there were times when that was working for him. So even if he got a foul tip, even if they fouled it off, Jock, same thing, there's a thing to just trusting your stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what he did tonight in those spots. Getting out of bases loaded, nobody out is a moment where if nothing else happened there, so say the 2 runs doesn't happen, and then he just loads the bases and gets out of that, we're jumping out of our seats saying, what a performance, what a job. So just so it happened that it came after giving up a 2-run shot and then having to do that himself. So I think, it's just something that we should tip our cap to Bobby tonight. And remember that he's coming off of shoulder inflammation. And it's the same type of stuff that I don't know how similar it is to Yamamoto, but we're talking about a young pitcher. We're talking about Bobby Miller, who's a hard thrower. He's still figuring out how to pitch and not just be a thrower. So just for a 25-year-old kid coming back, I think that he was fine. I said right before we hopped on, I said I liked what I saw from Bobby, but the stat line definitely doesn't show exactly how crazy that 4th inning was. Because if you just watch that, you'd say he struggled. But I was very impressed with how he bounced back there, and I'm encouraged that Doc and then Mark Pryor let him go back out for the 5th.
Fabian Ardaya pointed this out. Velocity down significantly for Bobby Miller tonight. The fastball was down 1.5 miles. His average for the year is 98. He didn't throw a single pitch 98 miles an hour. The sinker was down 1.3. The slider was down 2.4. The curve and the change both down about 1 mile an hour. Any concern with the velocity?
Might be something to watch. We saw him shaking out his shoulder a few times, so we'll see what comes of that. I wouldn't be shocked if they IL him if they feel they need to. But anytime you see a change in velocity there without much answer to it, that's we'll see. We'll wait on word from Doc and we'll see what they do with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. But it wasn't a performance that I felt was hindered by a lack of velocity. Do you?
Yeah, I think command was the issue. And again, like I'm not. I think he did fine. I mean, again, it's hard to look at like the performance that he had in 4 of the 5 innings he pitched at. And he literally gave up no hits in 4 of the 5 innings he pitched at. The problem was the walks were killer. And again, even when sometimes we make command just simply about balls and strikes, but it's also command is equally about when it is a strike, where in the strike zone is it? And there were just too many middle pitches for me. I think he got away with it. You can get away with it when you're throwing 97.9 miles an hour to Jock Peterson, and he's a free swinger, and sometimes he's going to swing and miss. But overall, he got the performance. The Dodgers won, and we'll leave it at that with Bobby Miller. So, but I'm with you. I mean, like, and he said this, by the way, before the game. He said he feels great. Quote, sometimes I find myself trying too hard. It did feel like maybe there was a little bit of that. That felt like an accurate quote to explain what I watched over the last few hours.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see it's evidenced by his pitch mix tonight. He was 51% fastballs, four seam, and then you go down the list. He just, sinker, fastball, you just want to call it the same, and just say he was living 65% hard stuff. That's a lot. That's a big thing when you in your secondary, you don't have it. But he did uncork a couple changeups there that I was really impressed with. His curveball, he still has to find a way to get that in on track there, because to lefties, it's just uncompetitive. He'll just miss it inside, and then it's just a ball straight out of the hand. But from what I saw, when he did lock it in, he tossed a few changeups there that I was really hyper impressed with. And fastballs, once he started living at the top of the zone, that's where he's best there. But again, he needs to channel a little bit more command. He needs to go talk to Gavin Stone and find a little bit of consistency there, how to work east-west and find that sinker, able to dial in that changeup. And then he can, we'll see him mature into somebody who's a core mainstay. But we got to take his word for it that he's still trying to figure out and navigate how to get it's crazy to think about that a lot of these guys are, not crazy. It's to understand that they're on different timelines. And the expectation in a game like this is we want him to be perfect. And when he's not, we're saying that fourth inning is a big deal and kind of a blow up. But again, he got out of it. He figured it out. We're going to chalk it up to being okay. He was fine today.
Just 2 of 12 changeups were landed in the zone by Bobby Miller tonight. So that's probably why he went with the hard stuff. The hard stuff was what he was able to land. He threw the fastball and sinker 63% in the zone. Everything else was closer to 40%. We did have another super chat here from Hawaiian Kira. Let's get to this. Concern for Treinen doesn't seem to be on his game lately. That was the surprise to me, Scott. I mentioned it earlier. If you told me that Bobby Miller was going to leave the game having allowed 2 runs, it was going to be 2-2, and we were going to get Hudson, Vesia, Treinen, and Phillips, I'd have bet a large amount of money on the Dodgers winning that game, because those 4 guys have all been very, very good. Tonight, they were not. Hudson gives up 1 hit, no runs. Vesia, 3 hits. It's a misleading 3 hits. 2 of those went off of the glove of Miguel Rojas, although they would have been tough plays, at least the first one. Treinen, a hit, a run, and then Phillips, a hit and a run as well. Hawaiian Kira specifically asking about Blake Treinen. The numbers are good still on the season, 2.9 ERA, despite the struggles of late, but second time in the last 3 that he's given up runs. Any concern for you with Treinen, or is this just kind of a fluke, weird play on that bunt that he ends up throwing up the right field line?
I mean, there might be a little bit. It just might be he's in a spot where he's at a lot of usage. He had a 6 ERA in June. So it's 9 innings, nothing crazy there, but has a lot of self-induced traffic. We're talking like 5 walk per 9 here in that spot. So it's a lot on his own. He's dealing with, you can see him hanging the cutter a lot of the time. Like we've seen that a number of times get hammered. And his sinker, it just has so much run. If it's not dialed in, you see his velocity fluctuate quite a bit. And I'm sure you see him talking to himself out there. And I think that's kind of the psycho in him. And I like that a ton. But what we've seen from Blake Treinen, maybe a little fatigue. Maybe he's just got to, get a little bit, pull the reins back a little bit. But that's, he's a big time pitcher. I can't really speak to why. We just know that a lot of the walks can be, that's a killer for relievers. You come in there and you walk the first guy. That's a sign of trouble right away.
Yeah, and they said it on the broadcast. The Dodgers had capitalized on it the very inning before that, with Gavin Lux works out the walk and Shohei hits the home run, and then Treinen comes in and does the same. Kira, I think it's a totally fair question. Again, 2 of his last 3 outings have been bad. He also got blown up June 15th against the Royals when he gave up 4 runs. That's how you get to the 6. This one will go down as unearned. This one, to me, he gives up a walk and then a bunt, and then he throws it up the line, and the guy scores from first. And then he strands the guy on second. So to me, this feels like it was a stupid play by him, the fielder, but not a bad outing necessarily for him, the pitcher. If you want to differentiate those 2 things, if he just swallows that ball and doesn't try and throw a freaking one hopper to Gavin Lux covering it first, we're probably not even talking about Treinen, because by all accounts, he gets out of the inning. And so, not a concern for Treinen yet, but I think it's kind of like the Bobby Miller velocity. I think is fair, is just something to monitor, something to keep an eye on as this goes along. Does he have a couple more of these? Because like you said, dating back to June 15th, we're talking about a guy in his last 4 or 5 innings has now given up 7 runs. So that's a little skewed by 2 bad outings, but you can frame this kind of however you want to. So
yeah. You look at his spray pattern from Gabby Moreno. He just lands 2 strikes at the bottom of the zone there, and everything is outside, inside. Missing the zone completely, uncompetitive stuff there. And then he gets a bunt, and then it's just that was a weird play. That was a weird play in itself. Other than that, he goes 1, 2, 3 following, and then we just forget about it. So it's just chalking up to going in there, getting the first out, and moving along. But Kira, thanks for the super chat. Absolutely good to see everybody here tonight.
Yeah, thanks as always. Almost 1,000 people in here live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. We appreciate you. That is Scott Geirman. I'm Jeff Spiegel. Let's do a quick rundown of how we got here tonight. We'll talk about some box score stuff and then get into some other news stories. We got a Shohei Ohtani home run derby update, some tons of injury updates to get to later in the show as well. But this one got started early for the Dodgers in the bottom of the first. Shohei Ohtani credited with a double on a play that Gurriel absolutely should have made in left field, but he ends up standing at second base. The Dodgers can't cash him in until, with 2 outs, Teoscar Hernández triple scores Ohtani to give the Dodgers a 1-0 lead. Teoscar grounds into a fielder's choice in the bottom of the third to make it 2-0. Then you've got Walker with the homer to center, absolutely crushed. This guy kills the Dodgers. I told my buddies, we're betting on home run props. Just Christian Walker against the Dodgers. Every time, just pound it, send it in. The next 2 days, Christian Walker against the Dodgers. They give up another run in the 7th. Ohtani gets him back the lead in the bottom of the 7th. I mean, can we talk about that Ohtani home run, Scott? I don't know if I've ever watched a Dodgers player that his home runs are like instantaneous no doubters. Like there's never a debate. I mean, it was like Max Muncy, I think like in his peak prime had some of these where he would turn on the ball and just stand and watch. I mean, but it's every time. We're talking halfway up the pavilion with Ohtani. It's like take any other guy on the Dodgers' best home run they've ever hit, and that's like average for this guy. That ball was demolished to right center field.
Just unbelievable stuff. Justin Martinez goes up there and serves one up and in. We're not talking like yeah, man. And my daughter is watching the same thing and she screamed, "Oh my God." Just she Joe Davis the whole house. But it's just, I'm with you. He just, when I've never seen a player quite like this, and I don't know if I ever will. But this is a dude that's just, when he connects, you're like, this is a home run derby type of hit.
Yeah.
Like feels like a home run derby type of swing. And he just said he gets no cheapies. And, they talked about it. Like, you could feel the magnitude in the stadium. You could feel the energy there. And I've spoke about how the things that I'm going to gauge this team on going forward with how the division is and how Major League Baseball is how do these guys perform in these moments, man? And this is a spot where he gets a hanger. He doesn't miss it. He's just like Teoscar. They're two in the same, that they're going to go up there. And if you put one in the zone on a mistake pitch, they're not going to miss it. And he almost could have got one again late in the game too. If he did, Seawald doesn't throw a changeup that he never throws, but Ohtani comes up bottom of the 7th, puts one in the seats. And we're talking about a 4-3 game. So it's just difference maker stuff, Jeff.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Unfortunately, the Dodgers give that run back in the top of the 8th. We've talked about Blake Treinen. That's the error there to make it 4-4. And then in the 9th, Evan Phillips comes in, gets ahead of Jock Peterson, 0-2, and just hangs one. And Jock Peterson absolutely turns on that, hooks it down the right field pole, and it's 5-4 Diamondbacks. And all of a sudden you're thinking, my goodness, this is really going to happen. First 2 batters for the Dodgers out in the bottom of the 9th. And then Will Smith, feels like, maybe a little bit of a pulse, lasers one to dead center field. But then, like we talked about, within 45 seconds, Smith double, Freeman double, Teoscar single, Freddie's just chugging along, coming down the third baseline, throw is offline. Dodgers win 6-5. The Padres, we mentioned, lost earlier, and so the Dodgers extend their lead in the division. They beat the Diamondbacks, who are now 3 games under 500. Great stuff all the way around. Good vibrations with the super chat. Name the last team to win a World Series without a left-handed starter. Dodgers need to trade for a left-handed pitcher. Kershaw is not the answer. Who do the Dodgers trade for? I don't know if you know the answer to this one, Scott. I don't know who the last team to win a World Series without a left-handed starter. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this one.
I don't know about the answer, but I can certainly tell you somebody, good vibrations. Thanks for super chat again. Thanks for everybody for, tossing those in. It's why Jeff and I are here. We appreciate the hell talking out of you guys. So thank you so much. But I can tell you somebody that we already know the Dodgers have been linked to. Our pal Bob Nightingale put it out there about Garrett Crochet. That's somebody, if they're checking in right now, they're getting the pulse. They're finding out, what's it going to take there. Even if it was the first call, even if it was, hey, we'll give you Gavin Lux, hang up. Like, it's getting some pulse of what that market is for it. So if they go out and get Garrett Crochet, the last 2 months, he's been on a sick one. We're talking about a pitcher right now that is just, he has the ability to, dominate and take over a game. We're talking about big strikeout stuff here, almost a 13 K per nine in the last 2 months. So that's an arm that if the Dodgers do choose to go out and get that, that's somebody who has had the pedigree this year and is on having a career year, and you get him in the Dodgers system, Jeff, that's someone who'd be interesting.
His health scares me. The fact that the White Sox are willing to give up on him with that much team control, that they've basically said we're open to moving him when they haven't said the same about a guy like Luis Robert, that scares me. The fact that he's already thrown more innings this year than he has in his 4-year professional career prior to this, that scares me a little bit. So I'm not out on Crochet. I said earlier, when I was talking to Daniel, I'm just skeptical on Crochet if the Dodgers and White Sox will be able to come to an agreement on the value, because I think there's an immense amount of risk. And if they're trying to pitch this as, hey, 2.5 years of team control for one of the best pitchers in baseball, I find it hard to believe that the Dodgers are going to be like, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. We'll just take on all the injury risk and pay you 120 cents on the dollar. That would be my concern. But I mean, it's hard not to like the profile of the guy when he's on the mound. Look, everyone knows where I stand. I think Kershaw's going to be fine. We've got a Kershaw health update coming at you later. I've joked there's a guy down at AAA, Justin Robleski. If you're obsessed with left-handed pitchers, they've got a lefty in AAA who throws 100 miles an hour. So That's not nothing.
Glad you got on the train, man.
Do you think having a left-handed starter, Scott, like we've talked about this at the bullpen, do you think it's like a necessary part of roster building to have a lefty in the rotation?
I mean, I think it definitely pushes an opposing team to have to dive into their bench if they do like having platoon splits. I don't think it's 100% necessary. It's not something that is like do or die. If you don't have it, it's not like I'm going to be completely, down on confidence of a team's performance in say a 3-game matchup, 5-game set. But yeah, I think it's just stacking the best arms possible. I'm not necessarily going to pass over a terrific right-hander just so I can get a good lefty. Yeah. Like that's not how it's going to happen. Like if we're talking like, it's all in on Crochet and that doesn't happen, so I'm going to go out and find a very mid-tier lefty. No, like I'm going to pivot and say like, I want, Jack Flaherty. That's another arm I'd be willing to go out and get. Arm on a 1-year contract, no commitment. You get him in here. He's been terrific. He's got postseason stuff. Like I'm a big believer in what Jack Flaherty brings. And that's another thing from the Detroit Tigers, that they're willing to move him. They will move him. He won't be a Detroit Tiger past the deadline. So that's someone I'd be willing to be, very comfortable with. I'd be comfortable bringing Jack Flaherty into the Dodgers, and he is not a lefty, guys. So we're talking like I'm fine avoiding a left-handed starter if it's going to cost. Like somebody on another show talked about Screwball, and it's just, that's a big cost. That's something you're going to have to go on and really dig into your farm system and go for. And if that's what they want to do, then fine. I'll back them up and say, yeah, you want to get, that's a top tier arm. That's someone you trade prospects for. But it's just, that's another conversation, because they have farm guys that they need to get out of the org or use before they are aging out of that window. But I'm not dead set on having to bring in a lefty. So thanks for the super chat. But I don't know. You guys, if somebody find that for me, I would love to hear the answer on what's the last team to win a ring without a left-handed starter.
Tim G with another super chat. RBIs number 500 and 501 for Gotani tonight. That's crazy. I was surprised that he only had 499 RBIs in his career coming into this one, but good stat pull by you, Tim. And again, thank you for the super chat. I guess when you play in Anaheim, maybe a few less RBI opportunities down there, obviously missed some time with injuries, but incredible stuff from Shohei Ohtani as usual. The home run, crazy. By the way, have you seen the slow-mo replay of the ball landing? Because I think it went off a kid's head. Like, can we get confirmation on that?
What I want to know is, everybody in chat will agree with me, I want to know why the grown-ups around this little kid don't have the glove skills or the hand skills to catch a baseball or swat it away so this little kid doesn't get drilled in the noggin. Like, that's crazy. Like, everybody in that section needs to do better. Yeah, big time.
Absolutely. There's way too many hands in there for that ball to pass through.
It goes down to that kid. Yeah, he'll never forget that. That's crazy. He's a part of history now, but that's not that way.
Good vibrations with the trivia answer. Cardinals in 2011, the last time a team won the World Series without a left-handed pitcher.
Love it.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. No idea if the kid was okay, Tim. Nobody really talked about it.
I hope he is. I hope they bring him back to the ballpark. Give him a suite. Ohtani suite.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some reporter somewhere with a big hit piece on how unsafe it was, and he'll end up with 2 Ohtani signed bats or something like that. So things will work out.
Robertson's toy Porsche.
There you go. There you go. Hey, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, So Rare MLB. You've heard us talking about them, so we want to give them a shout out. Here's a video with some of the stuff that they've got going on in the month of July.
It's heating up this July on So Rare MLB, where the thrill of the chase meets the prospect of big rewards. Lock in and go yard, collecting cards and playing your way to the top. Get things right and you'll be calling your shot at a share of over $225K in total cash prizes and more. Join for free. Build your winning roster, watch your players perform, and improve your strategy each week for a shot at being crowned a champion. Sign up and enter now. July is for baseball.
It's the dog days of summer, and July is heating up. So Rare MLB. We're bringing the heat with over $225,000 in total cash prizes and other amazing rewards. Best of all, So Rare MLB is free to play. This month, we have thrilling gameplay rules, including extra points for pitching categories, adding a new level of strategy to your game. Plus, get ready for our special competition during the MLB All-Star events. It's your chance to shine and enjoy the Midsummer Classic while competing against the best. Finally, dive into the July Chase, where first place winner takes home up to $15,000. Don't miss your chance to manage your dream team, dominate the leaderboards, and win big. Sign up for free at So Rare today and join the revolution. July is for baseball. Sign up for free and play So Rare MLB. Terms and conditions apply. All I'm going to say is this. I've got Ohtani on my team, and that guy is a monster in this game. It should absolutely be unfair to have Ohtani. He's not even pitching, Scott. And when it comes to a fantasy-type points-based game, he was like plus 185 to hit a home run. Guess what? He hit a home run tonight. So incredible stuff there. If you haven't already joined So Rare MLB, go ahead, click the link below. It is absolutely free. And when you draft your team, just make sure you do one thing. Make sure Shohei Ohtani is on your roster. Scott, I also got Teoscar Hernández. Nice little point performance from our guy Teoscar as well. So thanks, everybody. Thanks to So Rare MLB, of course, for being our sponsor as well. Let's get to a couple other news notes here. The first one is one we referenced already, Scott. Shohei Ohtani giving us an indication. We've talked about, is he going to be on the home run derby or not? Gave us this quote today. Quote, there have been some conversations going on. I'm in the middle of my rehab progression, so it doesn't look like I'll be participating. Your thoughts, Scott, on Ohtani not planning to participate, it sounds like, in the home run derby?
I'm fine with it. We talk every year about how I see a lot of people in chat, guys. I see you about how we'd rather Dodgers, either some not play the All-Star game, not be in the home run derby to risk, because we've seen what can happen to some of these guys, going in the home run derby, not even on the Dodgers, teams like players around Major League Baseball get into this homer happy mood and go from there. But, Ohtani's a different breed, and I don't think it would mess him up too much, but it's just not worth the risk. It just really isn't. It honestly isn't. It's such an unnecessary thing. Like, it's great for baseball. He's the face, honestly. Like, he is the most polarizing player in the sport. So as far as for the game, it would be a terrific thing. But that quote there, sigh of relief. Fine by me. Let's get him, keep him in-house. Let's just get him there, have him do some cool stuff. If he wants to take ABs in the game, awesome. Hit a couple homers there, trot around the bags and sit down. That's perfect. No derby for me. Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm generally the type of person that's like, hey, if a guy wants to play in the derby, let him play in the derby. He's literally in the midst of rehabbing an injury right now. Yeah. And so, like, anybody like Teoscar Hernández, for example, go for it. 4th in the National League in home runs. If one of the guys in front of you, Ohtani, isn't going to participate, like, I go for it. Do you have any issue if Teoscar wanted to participate in the home run derby, Scott? That's tough. I mean, like, whatever I say doesn't matter, but it's just if he wants to do it and what's they ask him to, like, what would be the hesitation to saying, yeah, go for it? I mean, probably nothing. Like he said himself that he's not 100% there. Like he's talked about that before. Like, I think he mentioned that we don't know anything. He's not hurt or anything, but he's mentioned himself that he's not 100%. I think that was during he did a live interview. I forgot which game he was mic'd up on, but it would just be fatigue. I don't know if it's anything, but I just prefer him not do it. If he wants to do it, I'm not going to be up in arms just because that's his hitting profile, I guess. I don't know. It's just more being selfish. I don't want him to do it.
Yeah.
No,
Teoscar for me.
let somebody else do it.
But
Resign.
Teoscar is to somebody else. Like, this is a guy who got a 1-year deal in the offseason. He's not a household name. And
He
so
doesn't
to
need
me,
the money.
Teoscar's the guy that it's like, he's not getting invited every single year. So that's my take on Teoscar, is that he doesn't get this invite every single year. He's playing for the Dodgers. He's having a great season. Like, if he wants to participate in the home run derby, knock yourself out. He will be an all-star. Whether or not he starts remains to be seen. So again, the headline here, Ohtani not planning on participating, quote, "It doesn't look like I'll be participating," as he's referencing the fact that he's still rehabbing an elbow injury that is preventing him from pitching this year. He is throwing, though, and so he is progressing by all accounts in that rehab, but not participating in the home run derby, it sounds like. Let's get to some other injury updates here, Scott. Some injury updates on Clayton Kershaw, Brusdar Graterol, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Walker Buehler, Joe Kelly. We get like no updates on these guys for like weeks, and then all of a sudden it's like Dave just is feeling it today and felt like, hey, you know what? We're just going to fire off updates on all these guys. Let's talk Kershaw first. He's the biggest name on this list, so he gets to go first. Resumed his throwing program and has improved, according to the Dodgers. Played catch 2 days in a row. Will plan on throwing a bullpen session on Wednesday. Still no timetable to return, but after being shut down for a week, was expected to make a rehab start a week ago, shut down from throwing completely. This is the exact type of report you're hoping to get. A, oh, by the way, he played catch the last 2 days, and B, he looked better than when he was shut down before.
Yeah, it's all about how he feels. It's all about how it is. And when he's clear to go back on a mound, and when that time comes, game scenario, and there's the days following. That's kind of all we can hope with Clayton, and what kind of the workload will be after that, and how much strain he can put on that shoulder, and then go from there. But all updates with Clayton, it's going to be good. It's the time when we say we don't know, and we don't know. We'll keep you posted, that type of thing. It's the same. If with Clayton Kershaw, we don't hear an update, that's how I know it's a bad news stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he got shut down for a week, and the fact that you update that you get a week later is not only is he going to play catch, he's already played catch twice, and now he's got a bullpen scheduled. To me, that's best case scenario. That's the Dodgers not only telling you something, oh, no, he feels good, I promise, but actually, like, if he didn't feel good, he wouldn't be playing catch and he wouldn't be scheduling a bullpen, right?
I was going to ask you, how much of this do you think is Kershaw just chomping at the bit, that he was right there? He probably came away right after the game. I mean, I can't speak for him, but coming away during that outing, and he wants to stay out there for another hitter. Like, he wanted to be on that mound. How much do you think he's just pushing? Do you think he's pushing totally. At all? Or, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think absolutely. But I also think, I don't think the Dodgers are going to be reckless with him in that sense. I mean, I think there was with Walker Buehler, I think Walker Buehler coming back when he did in the way that he did had a lot to do with him pushing. But I also think the Dodgers probably looked at it and said, like, well, you're not a health risk. Like, you might be an actual liability as a pitcher, but you're not like going to injure yourself by coming back in the form that you currently are. I think with Kershaw, the fact that they shut him down for a week tells me that he's not just full steam ahead, tear out the brakes and go for it. So again, I think there's going to be ups and downs as far as in this process. There's going to be starts and stops. Hopefully we've seen the last of the stops, but remains to be seen. The next update, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I see some people in the chat joking, is this a real update? Yamamoto, I would say, falls into the category of not necessarily a real update. No throwing program started yet. He is, quote, doing shoulder exercises pain-free, and, quote, hope is that he will start playing catch soon. That, to me, is the type of update that is either nothing or negative. Like, there's nothing positive in what we just heard from Yamamoto. It's either bad news or no news.
Yeah, Yamamoto's concerning. It really is for me. Like, I saw people talk about in chat, and for me, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, Jeff, but I think for the length of the contract and just how much of an investment Yamamoto is, and how much is tied into, his health, and the opt-outs that are in his contract with, time on the injured list, I'm not sure that the Dodgers will, maybe they'll just hold off on shutting him down for the rest of the year just so they don't trigger opt-outs like that. Yeah. But I'm not sure we see Yamamoto in a large capacity. Like, I can't believe it until I see it. But I'm going to be out on Yamamoto being a huge contributor until we actually get news that the Dodgers cleared him, just because of how much of an investment it is in him.
Yeah. Look, I was on this from the second that it happened, and I was the guy saying, like, his injury might be worse than Mookie's because we don't know if he's going to come back. So, yeah, look, it's still possible that a month and a half from now, he's back in the Dodger uniform pitching. But I haven't seen enough to convince me that that's a trajectory we're headed on. As the account pointed out, Kershaw, in the sense that he was feeling good, did get a couple shots in his shoulder. Soreness is normal. He gets the shots. He feels better. He's throwing. So we'll see if that continues. Let's move on to Walker Buehler. Has started a throwing program. If you believe he was actually really hurt, I, for one, do not believe that he was physically hurt. I think he was mentally, emotionally, and as a pitcher hurt by what happened. The interesting thing with him, though, Scott, is that he's not with the team. They kind of said this vague, like he's with people we trust. To me, it feels like Walker Buehler's in the lab at Driveline trying to figure something out. I mean, it might not actually be Driveline, but it's some version of he's with some folks that are trying to maximize and tweak and tinker and figure out some things. And that's the update that we have on Walker Buehler.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's something, I don't know if concerning, but intriguing is more so the thing I would say.
From worse. Things can't get worse.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So it's like we're coming from a place that, we already saw him make a significant change. And what I believe it was the way to try to maximize what he has and some upside of his stuff, which was we were talking about incorporating sinker cutter and going that route and less four seam. And I know you brought up that, he might have got a little worse, but he's pitching in Coors and he had another start that was bad prior. But it's just a difficult thing when you see that drastic of a change from an organization as, like in depth as the Dodgers to do that. So I wouldn't think they would clear it just to do it or like to have that change happen just to do it. So now those results aren't positive. He doesn't look comfortable. And after the game, we got those quotes we were on here and he sounded bummed and we were bummed for him. Yeah. So for him to go outside of the organization, it might just be some time away, try to maximize stuff there. And it's definitely going to be with the people that the Dodgers trust. And they'll be like, okay, this is a move for your future. It's not just a move for us. It's about your future in Major League Baseball. Can you be a competitive pitcher? But it's definitely interesting. I don't know how much news we'll hear about it until we do. But as long as his health is good, his elbow's good. Hopefully, I know I jokingly sent you a thing that they're going to try to find a way to, have him pull an Edwin Diaz without the sticky like that. But he's got to do something because if not, then we won't see him either.
I said it from the moment that it happened. I think he reached bottom, and bottom can be good because it makes you desperate. It opens up all possibilities. I guarantee you there were things that the Dodgers were asking Walker Buehler to try in the last 8 weeks that he said no to because he said, no, I know what to do. I know how to do it. I got this. And then you need to hit rock bottom to realize I don't got this. And so, I think some people are probably going to make this, he's not with the team, bad at it, whatever. No, this is the best possible update that we could have gotten from Walker Buehler because it tells me he is open to anything. He is willing to go to the smartest people who study this stuff and know how pitching works in a way that maybe he doesn't even understand and can understand his body in a way that maybe he intuitively doesn't understand it and try to milk every last ounce of ability and potential that he has. It might not work, but if you were to tell me here are the 12 paths that Walker Buehler could walk down, which one do you think has the highest likelihood of being successful? It would be this. It would be go back to the drawing board, go to the nerds in a lab, in a freaking office park in Seattle, and let those guys just try some crap out. Throw some stuff against the wall, change your grips, try and maximize velocity, maximize spin, whatever these guys do, and just figure out what works. That to me would be the highest likelihood of success. And after all, that's what we're getting. So I think to me, not necessarily a guarantee to be positive for Walker Buehler, but it's the best possible update that we could have gotten in my estimation. 2 more updates here for you. Joe Kelly makes his first rehab appearance in Rancho. It was his first time on the mound since May 5th. Not expected back until after the All-Star game. Expected to make 3 or more rehab appearances, likely for Rancho, I would assume. But again, you just like the progression. He made a rehab appearance. He hadn't done that before. I don't care about the results at all. Good news for the Dodgers on a night when the bullpen struggled that Kelly and Gratterall we're going to get to here in a moment. Good to have some positive updates. I'll just give you the Gratterall one too. He's expected to pitch in a simulated game, quote, soon. working out in the spring training complex in the meantime. Again, we all expected the next update to be season-ending surgery. We didn't get that update. So Joe Kelly appearing in a rehab game, Brusdar Graterol one step behind that, expected to pitch in a simulated game soon. Great news for the Dodgers if those two guys can get healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably with a lot of people, and maybe even you, Jeff. It's like I didn't expect to see or hear anything about Graterol just because of how, there just was nothing. We had no clue about him, and then just poof out of nowhere. But I think that, for where the bullpen is at and how much, like I've talked about a couple things that I really believe that, the Dodgers are on some run where they have some formula. It's the same thing I see with the Brewers, that they're just bringing in random guys, random arms, and they just have some formula that's working for them. I see it with the Dodgers with Landon Knack, Gavin Stone, and they're just putting it in with their pitchers. Yohan Ramirez, we're talking Anthony Banda. So it's just guys that are coming up and having a lot of success, and it's just across the board. It's not just spot stuff. So a lot of these young guys, I think that whatever they've got cooking, I think that I just have a ton of trust in the bullpen right now. I think they can do no wrong, and I had confidence with them no matter what the patchwork job was going to be from the start of the season. And what, if we see Joe Kelly, if we see Brusdar here pretty soon, then it's just going to do nothing but, deepen the bullpen and maybe give Blake Treinen some rest. Maybe they're able to pull something off there where they're able to get him off of his feet and kind of save him for later on in the year. And kind of limit those innings because there has been some fatigue. So I don't know what they have to do, but it's just good. It's same thing with the starting rotation. It's never going to be too much to have too many arms. And I think right now with how much production they're getting from so many different guys, Daniel Hudson looks locked in. Evan Phillips is, bumpy. But it's good to see that we've got some positive news finally, because I didn't think we'd hear anything on Brusdar.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. You said you can't have too many pitchers. Well, you can only have 13 on a roster at the same time. Yeah. Phillips, Hudson, Treinen, Banda, Yarbrough, and Ramirez, none of those guys can be optioned. So Michael Peterson and Alex Vesia, the only two guys who can be optioned. Peterson's spot, obviously, I would say is to some degree up for grabs, although he's been pretty good. Vesia, I don't think is going anywhere. But just to give you context, like when Kelly comes back and when Graterol comes back, they're going to have to figure something out because Peterson could give his spot up pretty easily. He's got 3 options remaining. But beyond that, maybe it's, hey, Treinen, you get the next 2 weeks, and then Daniel Hudson gets the 2 weeks after you, and you just have the circular injured list. But I think could be the way they do it because Grove is another guy who's on the injured list who's probably expected back at some point. So there's some names out there who are going to need to find somewhere to pitch.
June was tough. June was a really difficult injury month for them. Like the Dodgers, it's just insane, like all across the board. So it was just a tough month, and they endured, went 16-10. So they're playing at a high level still. Like I think their biggest division lead in the month, I think, was 9 games. So we're talking across, that's it opens up possibilities for them to really, do some roster manipulation there. I know the league is having a little bit more of an eye on it. But I think that the Dodgers, I'm with you. I think that it's going to be a way for them to find some rest for some of these arms there, stay away from them, use some guys who have some options there, and just keep arms fresh. And I saw somebody bring up Kyle Hurt. Like, I'm with you, Yang Yi. Like, I think Kyle Hurt can be someone that is going to contribute to this major league roster later on in the year or pretty soon. We don't know, but I'm very happy that he's pitching right now. So it's just another arm. They have a lot. They do. Starting pitching wise, we don't know. We're going to have to talk deadline stuff, but bullpen-wise, I'm very confident what they've got cooking there.
Yeah, Kyle Hurt, by the way, we've got an interview with him up on the Dodger Blue 1958 YouTube page. I was down in Reno, got to see Alec Thomas when he was on his rehab appearance, but interviewed Kyle Hurt, talked to him. Hey, you're a full-time reliever now, kind of for the first time in your life. How has that been? And remember, he was up with the big league club, got injured, is sort of not quite a rehab appearance, but in many ways it's similar to a rehab appearance. He's basically the de facto closer now down in Oklahoma City. So he's a guy to keep an eye on as well. I think that's a great call. And then Ryan Brazier's the other guy who's injured that we haven't gotten any positive news or really any news, but the last news wasn't positive news. So he's another name to keep an eye on. So again, a wide roundup of injury updates there. Kershaw, Yamamoto, Graterol, Kelly, and Walker Buehler as well. All right, let's get to some questions, folks. We got about 10 or 15 minutes left in the show. If you've got any questions for Scott or myself, throw those in the chat. All caps questions. We will get to as many as we possibly can. If you've got trade deadline questions, if you've got bullpen questions, if you've got lineup questions, hit them down. David wants to know, hey, Jeff, can we lock down Scott Geirman tonight for our all food talk chat over All-Star break? No, I don't think we're locking him down.
Super chat me $100 and I'll do it. I'll
There you
host
go.
it.
That'll be the worst $100 you ever spent. As Blake said, Scott would just come on here and every single time he'd say, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. So there you go. Ryan wants to know, Dodgers not looking for A's Mason Miller. That's the report. Well, the report I should say is that the A's are asking for the freaking moon and then some for their closer. Not without merit. He's incredible. But we just talked about the bullpen, the depth of the bullpen. Do you think, like, is the bullpen an area of need for the Dodgers, or do they already have too many arms down there to choose from, it seems like?
Ryan, thanks for the question. I don't believe that they need to pursue a high level arm. Yeah. I think that if Andrew Friedman wants to just for fun, he wants to go pull another Chris Martin, or he wants to go get another reclamation project, go for it. But if they want to, but I don't know, it's a tight group. There's a lot of veteran arms there. I've had concern about that. That's the only concern I've had, that it's a lot of older arms in the bullpen in big spots. Blake Treinen, Daniel Hudson, they're both pitching meaningful arms. Or meaningful innings, excuse me. But if they want to do it, cool, like for fun, sure. But it's not something that's a need. They don't need to go get a high level arm. Mason Miller is a terrific talent, but he's someone who's going to command a lot of prospect capital. So it's something that it's not a thing the Dodgers need to do, want to do. Converted starter, Mason Miller, big live arm, but it's resources that they could use elsewhere. And right now they have a couple pitchers within the organization who could take over a closer role right now. And Mason Miller is someone who is a closer. He is a bullpen ace. So it's not something they definitely need.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Noisy Ninja, what are the chances Bobby Miller's putting too much pressure on himself because of how well Gavin Stone has been pitching? These two guys kind of rose up the prospect levels together. They were always sort of ranked or compared to one another to some degree in the rankings. Do you think there's any part of Bobby Miller kind of looking around and seeing other guys have success and maybe getting a little too in his head about that, Scott?
I don't think so. I don't think those, sure, these guys are competitive, but I think that would be a kind of a naive thing for him to do. Like, they're in the major leagues, they're on the same pitching staff, same roster, same rotation. I think that it would be beneath him to do that, to have that type of mentality, because then it can do nothing. But once that happens, you'll start to overlook what your task is at hand. And I just don't think that's what he's doing. I don't think that's high chances at all. It's just they're on two different planes. Like, Gavin Stone struggled mightily. Yeah, like Bobby Miller had an awesome rookie season. And now he suffered a setback injury, and now he's just having to build up. So I don't think so. I'm just going to, like I said earlier in the show, I think this is just him going through spring training buildup, and we'll go from there, because it's not the same type of thing as, like, I know a lot of people, I got some questions. Some of my friends were asking, like, what are the correlations between like Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller and those type of profile arms, and one struggling, but it's just like they're on two opposite ends. Someone's coming off a major injury, another one's coming off of a minor injury, thankfully, and Bobby Miller, and he's just trying to build up for the season. So it's a completely different thing. But Noisy Ninja, thanks for the question. I just don't think that he's putting too much pressure on himself and looking around the clubhouse saying he has to keep pace with these guys, because I don't think his job is in jeopardy at all. I don't think he's in jeopardy of going anywhere. Like, he's not a fringe guy. Like, Bobby Miller is a mainstay if he rises to that spot in the Dodgers rotation. So I think it's just that he's going through some early season hiccups for where he's at.
Dong wants to know, because they played Arizona, Scott, which flavor of Arizona tea is your favorite?
Oh man, I haven't had one of those in a long time.
But too much sugar for you. Scott's our health guy over here. He's not crushing. He's got kombucha and protein shakes and whatever emergency electrolyte drink he's got in there.
I did the mango one. I used to crush the mango ones in high school, man. We're talking like those were the big Scott days. So we're talking those, but I was getting like 2 a day. Shout out to the owner of that though. He keeps those things at $1. He's a man for the people.
Lemon and raspberry tea would be my votes. I, like Scott, am away from sugary drinks for the most part, but classic Arizona tea. Yes. GI, do you think the front office will trade for a high salary player, i.e. Flaherty, with the 110% tax hit without somehow shedding salary? I would just say they don't really have salary to shed. I mean, like, they don't really have a guy that is terrible who's getting paid a lot of money. I mean, Chris Taylor's been playing well. He's the guy that sort of would have fit that category. But if a team is trading a player, they're not going to want to take back salary. The Dodgers don't really have salary to give. So I can't imagine this plays a huge role in the trade deadline. What do you think, Scott?
I know I was on Clint's show prior to this game. And that was we got into that conversation earlier. It's a point, and we will see it after the targets. And that might be a reason why the Dodgers could look for players on arbitration contracts or cost control deals. Jack Flaherty's playing on a 1-year, $14 million deal. So, you can look, I see you in chat talking about it'll be 20 plus mil. I mean, it's something that could be the case, but bolstering the roster and winning a ring are things that will remedy that. And I think they're at a point right now where I don't know if the Dodgers care a little too much at all. Like if it'll impact their team, I think they'll go for it. I think they'll weather that storm and just do it, because right now, if I can see it, they know that this is a year that to put full steam ahead with how weak the league is in terms of top end talent on across the board with teams, then this is the year to do it. So they're already deep into it salary wise. I don't think they would care too much, GI, about going a little bit deeper.
I agree with you. This is another fun one. Howie Land, what's the best baseball movie of all time, Scott? I feel like somebody might get roasted if they say the wrong thing here, so I'm going to let you answer.
Really?
Best baseball movie of all time.
Can we honestly, can you get roasted for liking a certain baseball movie? Because they all have different meanings. I can tell you, the last one, before my dad passed away, the last movie we saw was The Rookie. And that was for me, it's not my favorite. It's not the best, but that one has a lasting impact on me. For love of the game is something that just drills me. Vin Scully in there, it's just the terrific stuff. Is there a wrong answer? Somebody says Major League. Yeah, I'm
Major
with
League's
you.
Classic.
Yeah. It's so Moneyball. I mean, I'll watch that. I'll probably watch that tomorrow. So is there a wrong
Mr. 3000 might be a wrong answer. Mr. 3000.
Don't do this. That's a great flick. Rex Pennebaker?
Can't say I've seen it. Can't say I've seen it.
You haven't seen that?
No. Mr. 3000? No, I'm good.
Boo.
What about Major Leagues 3? Major Leagues 3? Does that one qualify as a bad answer to this one?
Oh man.
Fever Pitch? Fever Pitch is a wrong answer, right? Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore running onto the field in Fenway Park. That's the wrong answer.
I would say that's a wrong answer. Is that a baseball movie? It's a movie
baseball's around it.
It's that's saying is Die Hard a Christmas movie, that type of thing.
You said Moneyball. Moneyball's a great one. I mean, The Sandlot has to be mentioned here. It's an absolute classic. Rookie of the Year, another classic. Major League, another one that was mentioned. All of these are great movies. So I think your point, there are a lot of really, really good baseball movies out there. So shout out to whoever's making baseball movies, but I don't know. I think Fever Pitch would be a wrong answer. Summer Catch. Freddie Prinze Jr. Is that Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Yes, Matty Man. What a comment of the night.
My gosh. Hawaiian Kira has the right answer. It's Angels in the Outfield. Outfield. Okay, can we talk? This is my sneaky thing. Do you know how many famous people?
Sidetrack the whole show.
No, it's great. It didn't sidetrack it. We're actually back on the main track here. Do you know how many famous people are in Angels in the Outfield, Scott? Did you ever go back? It's
a ton.
The main kid is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Danny Glover, all the manager, Tony Danza. The outfielder, McConaughey is the outfielder. Adrian Brody, who freaking wins an Oscar for The Pianist, is the center fielder in that. I mean, there are famous people everywhere. The grandma was the lady from Home Alone. I mean, unbelievable casting. Angels in the Outfield, maybe the most underrated cast of all time. I'm just gonna say it. Great stuff. So shout out to Kira, because that is Angels in the Outfield. Angels in the Outfield, absolute freaking all-timer. All right, let's get to a few more. Hallelujah. Are Ohtani's home run pimp jobs not talked about enough? He stares the blank out of them and bat flips with authority. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's the least disrespectful while being the most disrespectful at the same time. But I think he hits the ball so damn far, Scott, that it's actually not disrespectful. It's just you know what? That was deserved. Yeah.
What are you going to say to the guy? Everything is an absolute missile. There's nothing you're going to tell him. Oh, don't stare that down. And he just does it better than anybody. Yeah. He can do that all he wants.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Ederico, how do the Dodgers deal with Yamamoto's health long-term?
Patience, because he has opt-outs that if he spends, I had it pulled up. I might have clicked off of here, but if he spends, I think it's 134. If Matt's in here, he's going to fact check me and text me about it. I think it's if he spends 134 consecutive days on the injured list between 2024 and 2029, he triggers opt-outs. He can trigger opt-outs after the 2031 or 2033 World Series.
Okay.
Or if he's Tommy John. So I think, Ederico, thanks for the question. I think it's patience. I think that they'll try to find a good balance for him. Yeah, and you really have to gauge that, because this is definitely, those questions are certainly being tossed around internally.
Tim G, this may sound crazy, humor me. Mike Trout to the Dodgers kind of makes sense for everybody. Angels need to eat part of his salary. Dodgers send some prospects back. You intrigued? Are you moved by the idea of Mike Trout as a Dodger, Scott?
I'm not moved, and I don't think Artie Moreno's not moved. I think he would crash. He would drive a 18-wheeler through my home if Friedman called him about that trade.
Trout, sneaky 138 weighted runs created plus this year. So shout out to him. Barely played any games, just 29 games, but 10 home runs in 29 games. So the guy's just on 50 home run pace if he were to play the whole season. Dodger Blue wants to know, is Guggenheim going to go out like Blake's Celtics and sell right away if the Dodgers win the World Series this year?
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
Boston Blake losing his owners. Poor guy.
Yeah, man. It's just hilarious that the Celtics are going out and signing everyone to big contracts and just eating themselves. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Lahala Poppy offering to Venmo me. Don't worry about it. Do you feel like we have more than enough to win? I don't want to add anymore. Look, I think they have more than enough to win. I think their chances go up if they get better players. Like if this team as currently constructed, Scott, with the guys like who are injured, potentially coming back according to the timelines they have, like if Mookie Betts comes back and Yamamoto comes back and Kershaw comes back, like of course they could win the World Series. Of course they have more than enough talent to be one of the 3 or 4 most talented teams, right? Like nobody's arguing that they don't have enough. It's just you always need more, right?
I think that, oh man, all the people in here that were with me during Clint's show are in here and watching this. We got into it about this same thing. I think this is one of the worst benches I've ever seen. I think this bench is an absolute F. It's one of the worst collections I've seen from a Dodgers team. I don't think this bench could contribute heavily to a postseason run. I just don't see that. If Friedman enters the deadline and says our midseason acquisitions are going to be Max Muncy, Mookie Betts, and that's how they're going to operate, then I think it's a big time letdown. I think they just have to, they didn't increase on the margins, and you can't, and to their credit, it's really difficult for them to, forecast that much down production from multiple players. And if Taylor, he's on that rise and he continues this, then he'll be a pivotal piece. He'll be a key guy. But I think that they need to have, another bat in the outfield. They need to have some platoon guys off the bench, because you cannot sell me on, saying Kike Hernandez is going to be your platoon guy against lefties. I'm not going to sign up for the fact, Gavin Lux is doing well against, with runners in scoring position, but I cannot get on board with him being the big bat against lefties off the bench if Jason Hayward starts. And it's unacceptable for the best bat off the bench to be Will Smith when he doesn't start, because they are not using Miguel Vargas at all. So it's just, I don't know what they're doing with it. So thanks for the question, but I don't think that this bench at all and their platoon rotation as it is can go on through October.
Yeah, I mean, my disagreement would be, and obviously it's like everybody can play the projecting health game. If Max Muncy replaces Kevin Biggio and Mookie Betts comes back and replaces, Kike Hernandez on the bench, then all of a sudden, like those guys, Chris Taylor is maybe a bat off the bench. Miguel Vargas is a bat off the bench. You've got the platoon out there with Jason Hayward, Pages, whatever. Like I think there's a world where they've got 2 or 3 bats that can come off the bench that aren't terrible. Also, keep in mind with the designated hitter, you don't exactly need pinch hitters in big spots if you've got guys that you trust against both lefties and righties. So, again, what's that?
But do you trust them? Do you trust like Gavin Lux, lefty? Do you trust Chris Taylor, like lefty righty? Like, do you trust these guys? Like,
that's 2 guys.
Like Kike Hernandez, do you honestly say that? Like,
I just said DFA Kike Hernandez. Yeah, I said replace Biggio and replace Kike Hernandez.
Do they have any weapons off their bench right now?
I mean, if the top 7 in my order is healthy and the bottom 2 are Chris Taylor, Jason Hayward, Gavin Lux, Miguel Vargas, some combo of that, like, why do I care who the 12th and 13th hitter on my bench are?
You should.
Who are they pitching
You
for?
should care about these platoon spots because they're going to have 2 of them.
But if you've got the lefty and the righty, then that one other guy's on the bench.
Are they good options?
I mean, again, we could nitpick here. No, they don't have an all-star team down on the bench, but like, I don't understand if Max Muncy comes back. If Max Muncy comes back, and if Mookie Betts comes back, and my bench is Chris Taylor, Miguel Vargas, and Jason Hayward, like, I'm good with it.
Okay.
You're not good. You would hate that bench.
No, because if that's the case, then we would have nothing to talk about going into the deadline. If you're saying that you're okay with it, that we just have to, I see people saying get hot at the right time. If you're okay with saying the team is as it is, then they don't have to do anything offensively.
No, you're not listening. I said, do I feel like they have more than enough? Of course they have more than enough. But I'm also saying the reason you make moves is not because there's some imaginary line where now we have more than enough and now we get to win the championship. If this Dodgers team made no moves and won the World Series, would you be shocked?
I would. I would be.
That's crazy. They're like one of the best teams in baseball right now.
I would be.
So which teams wouldn't shock you? Like, which teams would you be like? Like the Phillies, the Yankees, and who else?
It's just an uncomfortable thing for me to look at the bench and say this is a bench that they can, they go ahead and do that because of how many role players they rely on.
Yeah, I just think like the idea of having a good enough team to win Major League Baseball, to win the World Series in Major League Baseball is like, there's not an imaginary line. If there were an imaginary line, the Dodgers are already across it. So anyways, we're in agreement that we're all hoping the Dodgers make moves. I'm not sitting here and saying like, oh, Miguel Vargas is on the bench, so we're good. I'm just saying if the question is, do we have more than enough to win? Yeah, the freaking Diamondbacks almost won last year. And like neither of us could name their number 8 hitter, let alone the 13th guy off their bench. So
they made acquisitions.
What's that?
They made acquisitions where they needed to. I think the Dodgers need to make acquisitions where they need to. I do.
And what would be your priorities for that?
Okay, so I think that if they're going to operate that Miguel Rojas is going to play shortstop, Mookie Betts going to slide rightfully to second base, take Gavin Lux out of the starting lineup. That increases your team exponentially. You get better defensively at shortstop. You're going to be fine there. You get Lux in a sub role because he should not be starting. You get Max Muncy back at third base. Then I'm set with the infield. Then I have no questions about it. I'm fine. But I do think that you need to either commit to Miguel Vargas as a platoon guy with Jason Hayward and Teoscar Hernández if he's going to start there, and then you're going to have Andy Paz in center field. Then we can talk. But we haven't seen them commit to Miguel Vargas. We just don't. They're hiding him or not playing him for some reason. So they either contribute to that and add to that, platoon mix, or they go out and get a starter in left field, go out and find a Randy Arozarena. I see, somebody's been hammering me about JJ Bleday, but I'm talking like, I don't really think that Luis Robert is the guy that they have to go after. I was on it, but the more we see about him and the more that, his cost will be up there, it's not really a player I see the Dodgers going after. I think that they need to go out and find someone who's controllable because there is life after Teoscar Hernandez's contract is up. If they don't re-sign him, now what's your outfield going to look like? You're going to go sign on James Outman looking forward. That's all next year's problems, but they don't have options in the outfield. And I think that it would be good for them to explore a deadline move to get someone past this year who can also contribute this year because they just don't have options. So I would look towards left field, a corner outfield spot and go that way because then it without going infield, because that cost is always going to be high. Gavin Lux can still be a main contributor. Miguel Rojas can show his true value in the postseason at shortstop defensively. Mookie Betts goes to second. You take the pressure off of him, and then we move.
Here's the Diamondbacks roster, by the way, from the World Series. Jordan Lawler, Evan Longoria, Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, Jace Peterson, Emmanuel Rivera, Pavin Smith, Christian Walker, Corbin Carroll, Lourdes Gurriel, Tommy Pham, Alec Thomas, Gabriel Moreno, and Jose Herrera. Most of us have never heard of 4 or 5 of those guys, and they made it to the World Series. So my point is, I think with the National League DH, we maybe make too much about the 3 guys at the end of the bench. I'm with you. The way the Dodgers platoon guys, maybe their bench matters more than others, but I think the Dodgers, as constructed, could go ahead and win the World Series, and I would not be shocked by it. I hope they make the move, And I've been saying the same thing about corner infielders the whole time. I've moved on. If Bo Bichette's available, that's the guy I would want to get because I think they need a long-term answer there. But I think we're going to see how they play this one out. I don't think it's going to be for lack of trying if the Dodgers don't go out and get somebody. I think it's going to be just the way that the market shapes up and whether or not there's a match on the type of guy they're interested in and a cost that they would be comfortable for. So the guy that you're in on now is who, Scott? Because you said you've moved off of, is it still Tommy Pham?
No, I mean, like Tommy Pham, if they do that, if they want to go low, he's regressed to the mean a bit. He had a terrible month of June. But I honestly, I'm with Randy, like Randy Arozarena, if that's what they go for. Like, that's someone who I would target. If the Rays are willing to move off of him, that's someone who I would target heavily. He's been incredible this last month. He's been awesome. Like since beginning of June, it might be May, like he's, 163 WRC plus guy. So he's completely turning it around there. Postseason pedigree. He's under control for the next few seasons. Cost controlled guy. That's somebody who I would give up some stuff for, without a doubt. Yeah. And I'll probably, Jeff, just because we were in a little bit of a deal there, would I be shocked? I wouldn't be shocked, but it's just for me going ahead, and I would be perplexed if they don't make moves because of how many games we've seen the drop off in offense happen when the bottom of the lineup is under such a microscope. I'm just looking for this team having to avoid that, and then we can go forward. It's an uncomfortable place to be with this Dodgers roster because in years past, we've had such reliable platoon players. It's not just, they're going to show up sometime. It's because they've had guys with such stark splits, like lefties, righties. They've had some mercenary on both sides. And that's why it's uncomfortable for me to look down the bottom of that roster there and not see it. So that's where my pause comes in and saying like, would I be shocked? It's just that I don't see those guys on the roster right now. I don't.
Here's the perfect question to end on. Noah with the super chat. We appreciate you, Noah. Thoughts on Tim Anderson, Scott? You were a Tim Anderson guy, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Years ago.
Were you not last year?
Years ago, man. Years ago. I was big. You should have seen it years ago when he was still with the White Sox, like Field of Dreams game. That was it. But now it's just the guy. He lost his mojo when Jose Ramirez took it from him. I know my whole take on Tim Anderson is if they're going to force them, if they're going to roster Cavan Biggio, I would rather have Tim Anderson than Cavan Biggio. And I understand we all agree. Would you rather have Biggio? I mean, we would all rather have neither. Okay. But like if they said, hey, either Biggio stays on the roster for 3 more weeks or Tim Anderson comes, which would you prefer? Cavan Biggio. I don't want because
really.
I would just let it happen. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to get into Tim Anderson stuff because once you open that, then you're moving Miguel Rojas off of short. I don't want to do that. I just if Cavan Biggio can just
play some second base. Anderson was playing some second base.
I don't want to get him now. I don't want him. No, let's just suffer through Cavan Biggio and not open that worms and can of worms and just go for it. You know what I mean, though? I don't want to do it. I know that you were saying, give him a shot there, but it's just no, because then they would hold on to him way too long and they'd be like, we're good. And that's just something I don't want to do.
Fair. I have my video. My take is on video. I don't like Tim Anderson. I just like him more than Cavan Biggio. Good vibrations. All those guys you mentioned on Arizona scored off Kershaw in the first inning. That's true. Sometimes crazy things happened. And crazy things happened last year with Kershaw and with the baseball is like the dumbest sport once it comes to the postseason. That's stupid. The point. That's the point.
It's really stupid. But again, it changed me. It changed me. This last year was my Joker arc. And yeah.
2020, baby. We'll always have 2020. Hey, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate joining us here on Dodger Heads presented by DodgerBlue.com. That is Scott Geirman. I am Jeff Spiegel. As always, make sure you subscribe. Ring the notification bell here on the Dodger Blue YouTube page. Tons of good content coming. Fabian Ardaya of The Athletic will be on here this week. Next week, we've got Justin Lorber ready to talk prospects as well as some MLB draft stuff in addition to the normal stuff with Scott, with Anthony, with Matt, with Blake, with Daniel, of course. I've got a couple more shorts and I'm going to be out of town for a few days next week, so I'll miss you. But as Matt's saying in the chat, please smash that like button. We would greatly appreciate it. Wow, Blake Williams just got here, which is our cue to leave. If you want to talk bad NHL contracts, find @ByBlakeWilliams on social media. He's real fired up to talk about that. So enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. As always, especially after a 6-5 walk-off win, come from behind in the bottom of the 9th. Go Dodgers.